Hello and welcome. Aviator Charles Kingsford-Smith departed from Sydney for England with Charles Ulm, radio man Tom McWilliams and navigator Hal Litchfield on the March 30th, 1929. They were starting Australian National Airways, a domestic air service, and in England they wanted to buy aircraft. As they flew over the Kimberley region, headed for Wyndham in Western Australia, they encountered violent storms and became lost, running out of fuel as they tried to find a way around them. Kingsford-Smith made an emergency landing on the flats of the Glenelg River estuary. He asked his crew to sit as far back in the tail of the aircraft as they could so that it didn't tip over as the wheel sunk into the mud. A good account of this is given by Brian Herman in Search for the Southern Cross. Southern Cross was found 13 days later, the crew having survived on a diet of coffee, whiskey, tinned baby food and snails. Pilot Les Holden in the Canberra spotted their aircraft and dropped supplies to them. 19 days after the forced landing, the now refueled Southern Cross took off as the mud flats had dried. Local media dubbed the incident the Coffee Royal Affair, and accusations were made that Kingsford-Smith and Ulm had staged it all for publicity. Ulm had been heard talking about the publicity they would get if they were reported lost. An inquiry exonerated them, though many in the public were not convinced. One consequence was that in future all pilots had to submit flight plans and parts of Australia were declared remote regions. To fly over these required working radio equipment. Further, the government would commission publication of accurate navigation charts. Not so lucky were their would-be rescuers Keith Anderson and navigator mechanic Robert Hitchcock, who perished after a forced landing in the Tanami desert. Anderson and Hitchcock had taken off from Sydney on April 7th. They were flying the Kookaburra, a Westland Widgeon, one of 5 aircraft searching for the Southern Cross. Anderson was a friend and estranged business partner of Kingsford-Smith, so it was personal. Anderson and Hitchcock eventually made Alice Springs, then departed towards the northwest coast. They were unprepared, having inadequate maps, a faulty compass, just 3 litres of water and few provisions. Engine trouble forced them to land in the Tanami desert and they were reported missing the next day. After the discovery of the Southern Cross, search aircraft were tasked with finding the Kookaburra, and that included Kingsford-Smith. Anderson and Hitchcock did fix their engine, but in attempting to clear a path of scrub without an axe, they became dehydrated. Anderson wrote a diary on the tail of the Kookaburra, the last entry being the 12th of April. Qantas pilot Lester Brain, flying Atlanta, a chartered aircraft from Brisbane, searched and found the Kookaburra on the 21st of April. Later, their remains were recovered by Lieutenant Charles Eaton for burial, then they were resumed in June. Hitchcock was buried in Perth and Anderson in Sydney. What became of the Kookaburra? Adventurer Dick Smith became a pilot in April 1973 and purchased a twin Comanche aircraft. In April 1977, he made a reconnaissance flight to Wave Hill Station following this exact route that Anderson and Hitchcock were believed to have taken in 1929. He hired a helicopter for more detailed searching, but admitted it was hopeless. Returning 3 months later with 18 volunteers and 6 vehicles, helicopter, fixed-wing aircraft and a grader, they set up a camp known as Anderson's Corner. This is covered in Dick Smith's My Adventurous Life, which I'm reading. A grid pattern was established, but after 5 days, nothing. A memorial was built to acknowledge the bravery of these lost airmen. On return to Sydney, Dick phoned Lester Brain. Lester spoke of a blowhole he had noted, and Dick remembered such a feature.
Photographs. That's how I looked at the time, by the way. So we had the Dick Smith Kookaburra expedition, and I must have been...
1977.
Yeah, so I would have been in my 30s, and now that would have been, I think, the second group that we went up there, all of the people searching. This is the time we failed. Look at this. Here is a letter. If you remember, the man who found the Kookaburra was Lester Brain.
Yes,
he was the
Lester Brain.
Qantas pilot who found, and I'm pretty sure this is from Double Bay, 15th of June, 1979.
Yeah.
We'll just have a look at the end here, all handwritten. Lester Brain, yours sincerely. This is an original letter. This is incredibly valuable. So
as the actual original, as in...
Yeah, here's his original handwritten letter.
Wow.
Dear Dick, the saga of your successful search to relocate the 50-year-old remnants of the Kookaburra is far the finest thing that has come out of the many searches and written attempts to glamorise the deceased aviators as altruistic heroes, simply because they killed themselves. Now, Lester was pretty negative about Anderson and Hitchcock because he thought they were foolish. Because instead of Anderson and Hitchcock flying up the overland telegraph line and being, if they had an engine failure, they could land and cut the line, they took the risk of crossing the Tanami desert. And of course, when they had the engine problem, they did quite a safe forced landing, but they couldn't get airborne again.
Were they on route?
In August 1978, Dick returned with friends. The odometer reading from the Thornycroft recovery truck from 1929 was known, and it measured 23 miles from the blowhole to the wreckage. This was way north of the area they had been covering. A day and a half later, from the helicopter, they spotted the wreckage. The skeleton of Kookaburra was ravaged by time and bushfires. The Kookaburra has now been recovered and is on display in a specially constructed museum in Alice Springs. Thank you for watching. Please comment, and it would be great if you hit the like button and subscribe.